Okay, this is my digital desktop that I designed for use with Peanut and Blue DV. I designed the desktop because I wanted to get everything, or try to incorporate everything that I use a lot into one interface. Peanut and Blue DV, various controls and so on. So what I'll do is I'll run through the desktop, walk away through it. So on the top left hand side here, there's a mic mute toggle button. When you click on it, left click on it, it will mute the microphone. If you left click, it will unmute it, so it'll keep on toggling between mute and unmute. When it's muted, you will see that this graphic here changes to an animated graphic to remind you that the microphone is muted, and it'll stay that way as long as the mic is muted. You'll also hear a confirmation, an audio confirmation when it's muted and when it's unmuted. Now you won't hear the muted one because it will mute the mic I'm using, of course, to record this video, but you will hear the unmuted one. So let's left click on that.
Microphone activated.
And left click again to reactivate the microphone. To the right, that's the volume control. If you just hover over the wheel here and you just scroll up and down with the center mouse button, you can change the volume. If you right click, you can see that it's gone to 0. It's now muted, and there's a flashing indicator here to alert you to the fact it's muted until you right click again and unmute. Below that, you've got an audio output selector between speaker and headset. You also see I'm on headset now, and you can see that the volume control has gone up to a level that I left the headset on. And if I click again, speaker is back down again. To the right, in the center here, you've got a clock. Below that, you've got the VU meter, which is a mic VU meter. It's working on the TX audio, and you can see it moving with my my voice. If you right click on that, you only have to do this once, and that's how you set the mic device that you're using, the microphone. So I'll left click to come off of there. Below that, you've got a QRZ Lookup, which I shall show you a little bit later on. And to the right of that, here you've got a RX receive audio spectrum analyzer. Now there's nothing with audio coming in at the moment, receive audio, but if I just right click a few times on this volume control, just so it will beep noise, and keep your eye on the RX spectrum analyzer thing here, you will see it beep blip whilst I'm doing that. Once more. And you can see the bars on the bar graph there were right over to the right mostly, and because it's quite high frequency beeping noise. Now on the top right here, you've got an audio mixer which mixes the various apps like Peanut and Blue DV's volume levels. If I enable Peanut, you can see it's now appeared up here. If you want to mute it, all you've got to do is left click on it, and it's now muted. Peanut's muted. And the same will be true of Blue DV. When it's fired up, it will appear as a bar in here. If you want, just left click again to unmute it, keep your mouse over it, and use the center scroll wheel up and down to change its relative volume in the mix. Okay, I'll finish off actually with this control panel on here on the right hand side, but I'll explain the PTTs. Two PTTs, one for Blue DV here, and above it one for Peanut. I'll use the Peanut one. Left click to key up, left click again to de-key. Or you can left click to key up, and it will start an auto timeout timer, this thing here. It will count down from 2 minutes 55 seconds, which I've preset it at. You can change that if you wish in the configuration. That's to coincide with Peanut's 3 minutes auto timeout. So at the end of 2 minutes 55 seconds, you will get that will just de-key automatically. But when you key up, you will see an on-air indicator here start to flash. You'll also see some countdown digits, which will count down here from 2 minutes 55. Behind that, there is this display here will turn to red. to highlight when it gets to 10 seconds from the countdown, and you will hear a beep at 10 seconds from the countdown to remind you it's going to de-key in 10 seconds. I won't key up for whole 2 minutes 55. What I will do though is just key up quickly on Peanut, so left click and then left click again to de-key, so you can see that working. So left click, left click again, and you probably saw the countdown digits there and the say the on-air indicator. Now that wasn't switching to Peanut, because Peanut is actually currently the active window, but if I go to Blue DV, I'll do the same again, even quicker this time. You'll see it switch to Peanut before it keys up. Now that's another thing that I wanted to get into this interface, because Peanut or Blue DV, as I'm sure you know, have to be the active windows. So if you're working on your PC, you have to keep switching, making it the active window, and then hitting the space bar to key up. This will do all that for you. So that's Blue DV and Peanut, the PTT functionality. They work exactly the same, except for the program that they activate. Now, I'm using a program called Stardock Groupie. I think it cost about £5, and that is what this main window is here. Stardock Groupie enables you to group programs together, and it also enables you to save them as a group, which is what I've done. My group contains Peanut, Blue DV, and this last tab here, which is a web browser. Now I'm using a program called Brave. It's a nice, ordinary, simple but quite well featured browser, and I installed it specifically for use with this digital desktop. It's a Chrome compatible browser, so it will take Chrome extensions. I'm using several well, 2 in particular in conjunction with this. I set the home page in the browser to the Peanut dashboard. I've used an extension here to rename the tab into dashboard from Peanut dashboard, and the reason I did that is because I don't want it appearing as that in the tab name at the top here, because the Peanut bit will clash with what it says there, i.e. Peanut tab, and that's instrumental to the way the PTT functionality works. So I found a few other nice bookmarks that I put in. There's a nice well-timed clock there, and you can put whatever you want in as bookmarks. D-star lookup, hose line lookup for DMR. I'll go back to the dashboard tab for a minute. So I mentioned the QRZ lookup. I will put my call sign in there and hit return, and as you see, it's now looked it up in the browser, so it's a nice way of looking up. That's another reason I did this, to try and keep a browser in here, keep it all as much as possible in the interface. So go back to dashboard, and say another browser extension I've used here in Chrome is one that hides elements. Now this is purely personal taste, but I wanted to hide certain elements of the Peanut dashboard and leave the 2 main ones that I use frequently, like last heard and online users. Another feature that I introduced very recently is this button up here, which is called Peanut Rooms. Now that has 3 functions. You can left, right, and centre click on it, and I'll go back to the Peanut tab for a minute, and I'll left click on here. Okay, so it switched to browser and the dashboard tab, and subsequently entered in the details and switched to the English room, which is what you see here. So I'll go to Blue DV now to show it works on with any of these tabs, and this time I'll click on the centre tab, centre button I should say, mouse wheel, there we go. This time it's gone to another pre-programmed room. I've chosen to go to Tech Talk. If I stay within the browser itself, which is what we're in at the moment, and I right click, it's gone to the photo chat room. So they're just 3 rooms that I, again, matter of personal preference, that I wanted to incorporate. So that's how that works. If you close down Stardock Groupie accidentally, and I will close it down deliberately by closing the individual windows and closing the whole lot down, like so. If you left click on this one that says Reload Groupie, does exactly what it says. We're back where we were. It's reloaded the groupie group back in again. Okay, I've noticed that the VU meter here can occasionally get a bit laggy. So again, not to have to come out of the interface, I put a button on here which basically just unloads it and reloads it quickly. There you go, you saw it blip there while it was just reloading. So that's what that button does. Above that, there's one called VU meter light. Now I put an overlay, a light effect overlay over the VU meter. If you want to toggle that on and off, just left click on there. I'll skip this button and leave it to very last, and I'll just go to the screen dimmer function, which you see is toggling the screen dimmer on and off. Now these buttons will all remember where you left them, i.e. the VU meter light and the screen dimmer will stay where they were. So then of course they'll work in conjunction. So if I turn that off and I decide that I want that dimmed, or I want to go and have it like that, or perhaps like that, so they'll work in conjunction with each other, and they should remember where you left them. Right, so I think that's most of the functionality. There is one other thing that I put in again recently, this thing called Screen Magnifier. Now this uses the Windows Screen Magnifier, so the reason I chose to use that is because most, in fact I think all modern versions of Windows come with that functionality, so you haven't got any additional software. If you centre click to enable it, like so, actually it's a strange magnification level at the moment, so it probably is a good idea to, there we go. So you can see what it's doing now. The reason it's a bit clunky is because I'm doing the video recording at the same time, so it's normally a bit smoother than that. So if you left click, you will zoom out. If you right click, you will zoom in whilst hovering over this screen magnifier button. Because it is the Windows screen magnifier, let's zoom out again a little bit, maybe a bit more. Because it is screen magnifier of Windows, you can use the normal Windows Control, Alt and mouse wheel functionality to zoom in and out as an alternative to left and right clicking on this button. Centre click to turn it off. I just turn that off. As I say, it's a bit juddery because I'm doing the video recording at the same time. Okay, so that's all the functionality of the interface. A little bit about the software. A prerequisite for this is something called rain meter. Now rain meter is really what I've used to do all of these various graphic overlays and a lot of the controlling. So you need rain meter. It's free, but you will need it because the whole thing is built to a large extent around it. In addition to that, there is another piece of paid software. Sorry, there is a piece of paid software, which is this star.groupie I've mentioned before. I think it's currently about £5, but again, it is a prerequisite to having these group tabs, windows that I've shown here. Everything else that I've used is free. The VU meter is free. The microphone muting program is free. So that's VU meter and mic mute or MIC mute. I can and have bundled these together when I've distributed my original beta versions of this software. So that's the free programs. There's another free program which what it does is it remembers the size and position of windows. Now that is pretty essential again for positioning the VU meter automatically and the star.groupie group components in the right place when you load it or reload it. So that's free. Another program I've used, or two in fact. The first one I paid I think again another £5 for, is a program which is doing the macros, but that I'm using in conjunction with this the Peanut room switching, and that particular program, which is called Mini Mouse Macro Pro, the emphasis on the Pro version, because it does offer the features that I needed to do the job. As I say, it cost about £5. Without that program, loading in the various macros and so on to do the room switching, the Peanut rooms functionality will not work. Lastly, I've used a program, you will not need this, I've used a program called Auto Hotkey to compile various executable files, which I've used in the desktop, and for instance, there's various ones here that it triggers in conjunction with the PTTs or the microphone muting, or indeed these macros again. So that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed watching. I hope it's of interest. If you've got anything you'd like to discuss, I'll be happy to try and help, or explain a bit more maybe about it if you drop me a line to my QRZ email. So this is G7BHH wishing you 7-3.